So I was with John Spenceley a while back, and he told me in detail that there was an altercation between Paul Sykes and Hartlepool's Dave Garside. So Sykes got out in September the 11th, 1989. So there was a big show in Middlesbrough, Essence Sports Centre, which was Glenn McCrory defending his cruiserweight title. This was about October. Um, yeah, John Spenceley was promoting it with Cedric Kushner, who was he was huge actually. He was a massive promoter. So Glenn McCrory was fighting Caesar Macatini. Garside was defending. I'm sure he had a title then, but anyway, he was fighting Roy Smith. Gary McCrory was on, so it was a big thing, particularly Middlesbrough doesn't really have that many boxing events, or didn't back in them days. And Sykes was out of prison. Only been out probably 6 weeks. So the event itself, Garside won by stoppage. And afterwards there was a pub in Middlesbrough. It's still open. It's called the Navigation. And there was kind of like the post-fight party, if you like. All the major faces were there. Your Tommy Millers, Mickey Duff was there. And Sykes, kind of often where he went, trouble did. And so he was basically said to Dave Garside, I don't know what you're getting excited about. You should be stopping people like that. And John, I was going to say John L. Gardner there. John Spenceley said, well, Paul, you fought, referring to John L. Gardner a couple of years before that, and you turned your back on one. And basically, he was just trying to cause havoc and wind up. And Garside was going to go for him. And John said to me, he said there was a few people held him back. Because, John said to me, he said he regarded, he did say Dave Garside was the greatest fighter he ever managed. He also said he was like a son to him. And he said he'd have absolutely flattened Sykes at that point. Dave was kind of in the prime of his career, and I think Sykes would have been 44 by then, 43. But yeah, any time he was out of prison, he was drinking mad. The thing is with Sykes and Duffy was they always kind of missed each other. So that fight was there so that was 89. So Duffy went away in March 88, and he come out in May 1990. So a lot of it was, Sykes was selling his book from In Off the Park early in 1990. Of course, Lee didn't get out till May 1990. And they kind of, considering Sykes was in Middlesbrough a hell of a lot, it was always, whether Sykes was in prison or whether Lee was in prison. And there's a lot of crap, there's a lot of people making lies up on the internet for views. Total fabricated stories. I spoke with the Spenceleys, I spoke with Tommy Harrison, I've spoke with the guy who held Lee when he died, and I have, they met twice. So once I interviewed a guy who actually broke him up in Durham prison. There was a huge wall, 1988, and they never got anywhere near each other because they kept each other at the other sides of the prison for obvious reasons. And then of course they did meet about a month before Duffy died, and that was when he turned his back on. I think Sykes put his hand to shake his hand, and Duffy turned his back and said, "Who does he think he is, me?" That is 100% because he, the Spenceleys brought him in, and yeah, that was there was a big thing. When Sykes turned up at that boxing show, I spoke to Tommy Harrison a couple of years back, and he said our Lee was there with little kind of cricket bats and little coshers down, because they were all expecting kind of trouble, and Sykes turned up and said, "Look, I'm not looking for any trouble with your dad," and you know, because there was a lot of hostility between Sykes and Duffy, with them being the two names in Northern England. But yeah, John told me, he said the after party, you know, and Sykes did pull him, and he said, "Look, John, I know we're best mates and that, but you can't talk to me like that." And I have actually seen a book that John was given off Sykes, and he signed it, said, "To the greatest man I ever met." So he did really hold him in high regard. But John did say, he said Garside was really up for flattening him, and I think a few people kind of managed to calm him down. Otherwise, he'd have, you know, this was Sykes was well past it by then. He hadn't fought for I think March 1980, and this was, yeah. So his best days were well behind. But that was a kind of confrontation which happened in the Navigation pub in Middlesbrough. Yeah, true story, and spoke to a couple of people who actually witnessed it.